everybody, I'm Lara Trump coming to you from Studio 45 at Trump Tower in New York City. One side offers hearings, hysteria, and huge tax increases. But the other side offers promises made and promises kept. Joining me is a conservative leader and the chairman of CPAC, Matt Schlapp. Matt, thanks so much for being with us today.
Great to be with you again, Laura.
Yeah, so listen, you speak a lot about the president's promises made and promises kept. Do you think, Matt, the people around the country really appreciate how unique and unusual it is for a president to do that, make promises and actually keep them?
Yeah, Laura, one of the things that's amazing about the Trump phenomenon is that a lot of voters, many of them conservative, but moderates and independents as well, were constantly told that things would happen. For instance, move our embassy in Israel to Jerusalem and other things, time after time after time. Yep. And they had grown tired of hearing these promises and not seeing them be followed through on. And I have to say, as I travel around the country, and you do as well, this is the thing about President Trump they love the most. He simply said what he was going to do, and now he's executing on those promises, and they're overjoyed about it.
Yeah, I think we call the, what we were mentioning previously, all talk, no action politicians. And the reality is that since day one, Donald Trump has never been a politician. And so I think that for him, he was as frustrated as all of us were with the fact that politicians would say one thing, get in office, and do nothing. It's very refreshing, I think, I agree with you, to a lot of people out there. I hear it all the time, to finally have someone in the White House, someone in a politically appointed office who keeps their promises. And it's to the great benefit of all of us in this country. Now, the president actually talked about some of his promises kept at a rally in New Mexico. Take a look.
We're taking power out of Washington and giving it back to the great people of our country and to the people of New Mexico. We've cut a record number of job-killing regulations, saving the average American household $3,000. We passed the largest package of tax cuts and reforms in American history. And what that means is a typical family of four in New Mexico making $75,000 has seen their tax bill reduced by more than $2,000.
Matt, I'm a little confused because I thought we were expecting a recession. I haven't seen one. What's going on here?
Yeah, it's strange. Gravity works. The laws of science and math work. If you allow the American people to hold on to more of their money, if you don't have the government fussing in every aspect of their life and preventing their business from growing, they might actually hire people, raise employee wages, and grow their business, and it can accrue to the benefit of all of us. So it's nice to know. It's kind of sad that we had to go through 8 years of socialism to be reminded that oxygen and air in our lungs, with the freedom to make economic decisions, results in prosperity for everybody, including those at the very first level on the economic ladder.
Yeah, well, fortunately, I think we're going to see a lot more of this, and unfortunately for the Democrats, that's not going to help them at all. They clearly, Matt, do not want to discuss the economy. We didn't hear any talk about the economy in any of the debates because I think they would have to actually own up to the fact that this president has been so great for our economy. So instead, what are they talking about? They are still talking about impeachment and Kavanaugh smears. I still cannot believe that this is happening. What is your reaction to all of this?
Well, part of me is politically, I think, well, this is great because it gives President Trump and Republican candidates a great opportunity to juxtapose what we want to do for the country with what these socialists who can't stop investigating want to do. But Laura, as an American, I think it's kind of tragic that the Democratic Party is embracing this radicalized idea of socialism, and they never talk about issues anymore. It's just all about character destruction, going after Brett Kavanaugh, going after President Trump, going after his family. It's all about, seek and destroy, and it's not about anymore helping the American people. And I think the Democrats have lost their way. I'm happy about it politically, but I think it's bad in a democracy to have a major party be so radicalized.
Yeah, I think we all think it's bad. I think even the Democrats are thinking now that it might be a bad move for them. But Matt, as we hear more about the 2020 Democrats' socialist programs, don't you think that's building support for the president and making the support even greater among Republicans and independents for this president?
Yeah, this is one of the things that we see at CPAC, and I know you see at the rallies, is that we're at a moment in our politics where there's a lot of change. And I see a lot of Democrats, people who used to be Obama supporters, a lot of independents, they're coming the president's way. And you can say, well, why is that? I think the main reason for that is most Americans are pretty practical. They're not ideological. They're not in a rigid ideology. They just want what's best for their lives and their families' lives, their kids, their grandkids. They want to see the economy affording them opportunity. They want us to see our society coming together and being strengthened. And that's actually what's happening with the president's agenda. You know, the polls bear it out. More Americans feel more optimistic about the future under President Trump and his agenda than they did during the 8 years of Barack Obama. So what the president's doing is working, and it's bringing in this coalition. It's no longer just about the party. I'm a proud Republican, but it's no longer just about the Republican Party. It's about a coalition of people that believe that America can solve its problems, get better, and be a beacon of hope to the world.
I totally agree with you. At the rally we just had in New Mexico, 31% of the folks that attended our rally were Democrats, former Democrats, maybe current Democrats, or independent voters. And we like those statistics quite a bit at the campaign. And I agree. I think states like New Mexico, New Hampshire, Minnesota, Nevada are all in play for Donald Trump as we approach 2020. So Matt, as we're approaching 2020, obviously a big election year in this country, what are you seeing at CPAC? What are you hearing from grassroots folks all across the country as we approach this very important election year?
Well, I would say two things, Laura. And first, let me just say, we're going to go to all the tough states, all the battleground states. We just started with CPAC West, the first annual CPAC West in Reno, Nevada. We came back from a September 11th CPAC in Minnesota. And what I'm hearing from states like Nevada and Minnesota is tell the RNC, tell the president, don't forget about us. And I know he's not going to, because they really believe these states are in play.
Wow.
And after being at those states, I can tell you, I think they're very much in play. I think the president is going to put states that many people say are unwinnable for the Republican Party in his column. And I think that's why we're going to spend our time going to these states and encouraging all these independents, all these people who maybe haven't been involved in presidential politics before, but they like what the president's doing. And we're going to try to do all we can to make good things happen.
Yeah. Well, so well said. And you know what? I think the reality is that the left and so many of these very far left Democrats now running for president have obviously lost sight of the liberties that we enjoy. CPAC is now in many countries around the world. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And you got to see firsthand when freedom is at risk on your recent trip to Hong Kong. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, Laura, this is especially a wonderful opportunity to tell you about it, because we were invited by these young democracy protest leaders in Hong Kong, some as young as 12, by the way. We met with about half dozen of the leaders, and there's not a one leader of this movement. And, you know, they're asking themselves, they have a 50-year deal to have democracy in Hong Kong, but there's only 28 years left in that agreement. And now they're seeing Beijing crack down on Hong Kong. So they have less than 28 years. And it's a real question we have to ask ourselves in America. How many years of freedom do we have left before a majority of our country turns to socialism? You know what the number one thing these kids told me, Laura? They said, go back and tell President Trump that for the first time in 30 years, we have an American president who has our back. And they said, make sure you tell him that we appreciate everything he's doing. And it was a very moving thing for an American to hear.
Yeah, and I actually noticed anytime I saw news footage of what was going on over there, these protests, there were American flags amongst all the people that were there. And as you're saying, I heard a lot of great support for this president. The people there understand, sadly more so than some of even our elected officials in this country, why our president is so great and what he's actually doing for this country and for freedom as a whole. So I'm glad you got to see that. Thank you for sharing your story with us. And Matt, thank you so much as always for being here and for fighting for our country.
Laura, it's my pleasure. Keep up the great work. We're going to have a great year next year.
You got that right. They're radical, they're extreme, and the Democrats can't keep any of the promises they make. For Donald Trump, it's promises made and promises kept all the way through 2020. That's the real news for today. I'm Lara Trump from Studio 45 at Trump Tower in New York City. Thanks for joining us, everybody.